Starts with a fresh shot of espresso. Bold, rich, pulled just right. Then comes the milk, steamed smooth, creamy, and balanced. The perfect latte is not rushed. It is crafted, one cup at a time. Your perfect latte is ready. Coffee first, then everything else.
Good afternoon and welcome to Beyond the Headlines. I'm DJ Moises and today's conversation is brought to us by Coffee First. For many Filipino entrepreneurs, the challenge is not a lack of ideas. It's knowing where to start, where to find support, and how to turn an idea into something sustainable. Let's look deeper and think better. Joining us this afternoon are DOST Region 7 Regional Director Dr. Tristan Abando, who will help us understand the funding and support available to technology and innovative businesses, and Timmy De Jesus, COO of Payruler, who will share the company's journey from an idea to where it is today. So hi, RD Tristan and Timmy, and welcome to Beyond the Headlines.
Hello.
Hi.
So we were talking earlier before we went live, and this conversation hopefully will enlighten those of our viewers who have an idea but they are just looking for ways, to move that idea into an entrepreneurial success. And what are the options that they have through government agencies like DOST to make it happen? So let's start with you, Timmy, on Payruler. So before it became the success that it is today, it also had its beginning. So can you walk us through that journey? I know quickly, it took years to make it happen, but at least for the viewers to understand where it was and how it got to where it is today.
Yes. So Payruler was co-founded by, we were actually six. There's six of us. And three out of the six founders were actually, we were all in tech. We were all working in information technology, and technology is an enabler. Three of our co-founders were actually working for a manpower agency. They were employed there, and they were the IT team there. However, that manpower agency pivoted and took a different direction in the business. So they were actually left without a job, essentially. Like they had to kill that department. And so the co-founders were talking, unsa man natong buhaton? Like, will we go seek other jobs? What will we do? Then they thought, actually, we're good at specific things. We have a lot of experience in terms of payroll computation because it was a manpower agency, right? So if you can imagine, this is thousands and thousands of employees that were paid in different ways. Some people were paid daily. Some people were paid hourly. Some people were paid by piece. So they realized, actually, we do have that expertise. Why don't we try and reach out to a small network of investors, get some funding, and try to launch it? So that's what happened. We were able to raise a little bit. We all came together. We were able to put a little bit of funding that gave us runway for about, I would say, a year. But by the for a year, and then by the 6th month, we were already serving a client. And so in startup language, we did get funding, but it only extended our runway for a year. And after that, we were bootstrapped. So as we were building that product, slowly we would get customers and it grew. Interestingly enough, our first office was, initially we were parked in the office of our client. Pwede mo use ani nga tables for a bit, part of the deal, so that we can deploy to your company. But eventually you're like, okay, we need a proper office. So actually, Payruler's first office was in UP Cebu in IT.
The incubator.
Which is an incubator of that is funded by DOST. So we were there for years and years up until we were able to grow too big. Now we had to give up the space for newer companies. So that's kind of how it started. Incremental growth. And we started with cubicles in UP Cebu in IT.
So Timmy already mentioned no about the incubator that
Yeah.
DOST is it used to support or is it still
It's
there?
still
Okay,
Yeah.
supported.
it's still supporting no
Yes.
kanang startup. So can you also tell us about what other available options also that startups like Payruler no if they have an idea today for example for them to be able to get enough support to get them through.
Yeah, actually, the Department of Science and Technology started with provision of assistance to the brick and mortar, micro, small, and medium enterprises, and we have the Small Enterprise Technology Upgrading Program, where we promote equipment acquisition for them for technology upgrading. However, we have realized that there are some limitations of the some of the product ideas of our brick and mortar MSMEs because normally they are engaged into traditional products, and maybe the scalability would be lower. So, and we are very happy because Central Visayas, especially Cebu, has emerging number of startups with innovative product ideas, and that's the reason why we really collaborate with DTI, DICT, especially with the passage of the Innovative Startup Act, where we started with, for example, if a young innovator or a nascent startup has this product idea, so then we are now establishing innovation hubs, or we are running ideation, mentoring session, and even design thinking sessions. And we're working also with DTI, DICT for some of the mentoring that we are going to provide for the startups. And even for example, the DOST, Philippine Council on Industry and Energy Research and Development, they are supporting a network of TBIs. Actually, the TBIs, or the Technology Business Incubators, has been here for several years already. UP Cebu in IT is one of the second generation TBIs in the Philippines. And we have expanded the network of TBS. We have the CITU Wildcat Innovation Lab. We have also the Balik sa Bohol TBI of Bohol Island State University, and even the University of San Carlos Bridges TBI. So we support these TBIs because from ideation, the startups can proceed to incubation, where they will be receiving also technopreneurship mentorship. And now, after technopreneurship, we are also partnering with some accelerators so that they can be investment ready. And if their investors are ready, then they can also scale up. And in terms of scale up, that's the time that we can provide them with seed fund for technology acquisition, and that is the Small Enterprise Technology Upgrading Program. So we commend Payruler because they have really availed of these programs from ideation to incubation, and now with the scale up with the Small Enterprise Technology Upgrading Program.
Sige, let's trace through the process and then both of you can
Yeah.
kanang jump into the conversation. So for example, I have an idea and then I want to move this forward. And of course, I would be looking for investors, like private investors. But how can I approach DOST and then take it from there?
Yes, it would be best if you can, for example, if you're a startup,
Yeah, like I
Yes,
just
you have
won a
idea.
hackathon.
Yeah.
I just won a hackathon.
Okay, yeah.
Ah.
So we can approach DOST because we are running also ideation sessions, design thinking sessions, because for your idea to be cultivated into innovative or scalable product, there's a need for us to really check if are you addressing a certain problem, are you providing a solution. So that's where our design thinking process should proceed, because it would be difficult for you to scale up later on if there would be no target market, there would be there would be no pain point that you're addressing in the market. So I think that's one of the how do we call that,
The initial process.
yes, the initial process, attending those sessions, and networking also, and be inspired by other startups or other mentors.
And we had a conversation before because the first time I went to the OST, I noticed kanang soap No, yeah, no. But the reason why I smiled, it's because of my lack of understanding, ba. So maybe this is a good time. Although we talk about this in the past, maybe this is a good time also, if in case our viewers would also want to know what type of there's DTI man,
Yes.
diba?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what type of business can they bring to DOST, or what type of kanang product should they bring to DTI instead?
Yeah. So for DOST, because we are more focused on promoting technology adoption. So when we promote technology, usually the focus also for technology adoption is more into the manufacturing sector, the processing sector. So there should be conversion of raw materials into products. So if it would be service, I think we have limited support to the service sector, for example. Although if there would be digital transformation that can be covered by the OST, but if you're into, for example, trading or into service sector, then you can also avail of the services of DTI and DICT. Okay, but the more important thing for us is to really we need to, of course, assess always your product idea so that we can guide you on what pathway are you going to choose for your startup.
I think if I may pile on that, like it's so wonderful that DOST has like really expanded the programs that are available now. I think it was very important to us at Payruler that we were at UP Cebu and IT in a TBI, because parang that was our way to connect with DOST, because and honestly at the time funding was startups were new. It was like this was 2015. So it was a buzz, but it's kind of like, okay, will the government support? Where do we get funding? So it was, we decided na, okay, DOST is actually investing in these TBIs. This is a good place to be because it will open up your possibilities, no? I think the struggle with a startup, especially when you're starting, is how do you
That's my next question.
how do you say that, how do you make your customers feel you're not fly by night?
Correct.
That's my next question. Continue, yeah. You can elaborate now. Yes.
How do you, like, we're legit, like they'd be like, who are you and why will we
And they're
sign
entrusting a part of
Exactly.
their process to you.
exactly since we are in HR, payroll,
Correct.
HRMS, it's payrulers and HRMS, so they're like, kinsa man mo, like now we'll give you a certain contract, and we're our contracts were not also like not cheap either at the time. Being a part of and saying that, oh, we are a startup incubated in a DOST funded technology business incubator, they'd be like, oh, okay. So it was like DOST was lending their credibility onto startups, and that was very important at that time. And these programs evolved later on. We weren't really able to avail so much of them, but even that big parang trust that's given to startups, that was such a big thing for us, because they're like, oh, okay, they're in DOST, they're in a DOST TBI. These people must be legit. That was very important for Payruler.
I have to admit, I did not look at it that way. I was just looking at an incubator as an incubator. No? But I did not realize that there's so much credibility
Yeah.
and stamp of approval, no, if we may, that's actually put on a particular startup, no, once they're associated with the OST. So, sige, I'll dwell more on that. So, do you accept any type of business, or they also go through the same filter that you use when you start supporting kanang startups?
Yeah, there should be
Still the same
filtering.
criteria.
Yeah, the same criteria. Like that's the importance of the ideation and the
And they go through the
design thinking,
same
yes.
process.
And even validation, because after that we have also like funding to validate of course, you have a good product idea, but we need also to validate if your prototype, for example, would really be working, can provide the promise that it has to provide to the customer. So that's the reason why we have also R&D funding or validation, okay, to check if that would really work, the technical feasibility, and then after that, of course, it will be supported as well with the technopreneurship mentorship, because some of these innovators, like especially if you are a lone founder, maybe you are equipped with the technical skills, okay, technical ideas, but you have to really transform into entrepreneur, to be entrepreneur. So that's the reason why incubation is very important, and I think that's the credibility that they can get if they are into incubators, they are enrolled into incubators, because you will receive all these forms of assistance, and the investors would have the confidence, or the partners would have the confidence, because you go through these mentorship programs.
So, for example, if the winners of the hackathon, when you invested to it, even if they already won, they still have to go through ideation process, or can they jump the queue already?
It depends on what
sige.
kind of activities that you were
Assuming
able to
they're
go
technology,
through.
yun.
Yes, because like for example, the Solutions Fest.
Solutions Fest.
The Solutions Fest was really a good one, because it was really designed in a form of design thinking, ideation. You connect with the problem generators, and you match your solutions. So I think it was really a good exercise, that particular hackathon. And like on our part on the DOST, I think there's no need to further validate, because we know that it went through the process, and DOST has been part of the
process.
events. So I think it would just require, like for example, Payruler, like when they applied for setup, or the Small Enterprise Technology Upgrading Program, it is not difficult to evaluate, because they were able to receive the guidance, or they have been exposed to mentorship under the UP Cebu in IT, TBIs, and even the startup ecosystem.
So for Payruler, actually, we were incubator locator in the past at UP Cebu and IT, and in Manila, we're actually one of the first members of the cohort of the Asian Institute of Management Dado Banatao Incubator. So that is also a DOST.
A plus po, no?
Yeah, that's a DOST funded TBIs also. So that connection also then expanded our reach, and through the because we were a part of the two TBIs, that opened up our possibility for the R&D funding that RD Tristan was talking about. So we were able to secure that back in 2020, around 2018, a funding for R&D. Because, as a startup, like especially as a bootstrap startup that's running on revenue, your focus is keeping the lights on, paying people. You don't really have you don't have the luxury to pay for R&D. And R&D costs, that's labor, that's server costs, that's a lot of things. And because of, being a member of these two TBIs, then we were able to have that validation and access. Actually, it was a criteria that you had to be associated with one of the TBIs. Now we could access like a bigger source of funding for R&D. So with that, we were able to really work on, the next generation of analytics, data science, things like that. So that was so helpful for us as a startup. Where are you gonna get money for that?
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm going back to Solutions Fest na po, because I know that there's a lot of hackathons, Manggod.
Yeah.
And there are also, at least from what I've seen, there are also a lot of promising kanang solutions, no? But they just probably need some guidance on where to go. So, if I am to synthesize what you just said, to a certain extent, funding is still necessary before DOST can help them, because they need to do some feasibility work, they need to do some prototyping, etc., before they qualify to DOST, no? So, kung yun di ID po pwedeng they will really have to start from zero, no? To some extent, in the beginning, they have to secure their own funding so that they would be able to meet certain criteria that you're looking for, and then they qualify for this. Kaya naman po yung proof of concept. I think that's a term, no? There has to be a proof of concept to begin with, no? So, what are the support man said that the OST is giving? Because I think there's one for startups, but there's also one for existing MSMEs already. So, what are, sige, let's start. I think na-cover naman na to ang startup. For MSMEs, how do they qualify for this?
Yeah, for the MSMEs, the Small Enterprise Technology Upgrading Program or setup is really designed for them. Although at the moment right now, we are opening also the, how do we call that, the scope of setup for the startups, because right now we have started like accepting enterprises that are operating at least 1 year. Before it, the requirement was for them to have an operations of at least 3 years, because we need also to check their because the we have actually four major programs with funding right now in the UST. One is for setup for the Small Enterprise Technology Upgrading Program. One is the CES, the Community Empowerment through Science and Technology. Not CES, no, but CES. And it's for the community. So that is a grant actually for even those startup-based or community-based startups. We can support that. And then the third one is the Smart and Sustainable Communities Program, where we provide a program of support to our LGUs so that they can transform themselves into smart and sustainable communities. And the fourth one is the more flexible one, because this is, we call it the Local Grants and Aid Program. This is also a grant where we support those partners that are developing also the innovation ecosystem. They have programs like, for example, we have been partnering with Cebu Chamber in the in the food program. We have our food program in the past. So we can we can provide grant for our startups through, for example, local GIA and even setup. But for the micro, small, and medium enterprises, they need to have financial proof, because the setup program is actually a rent to own program. It's not a total grant, but it's a zero interest seed fund provision. So that's why there's a need for them to return the fund for 3 years, at least 3 years, or they can have 5 years. But we will give them grace period of 1 year for them to procure the equipment, benefit from the equipment that they have availed. And that's why we need to assess their financial capacity. And of course, we were going to assess the marketability as well of their products, because we don't want to the program is really designed to provide support, and we hope that they will not be burdened by sort of the financing, the payback that they are going to have. Like, we're very flexible. That's why we need to assess that they have a market, so that they will not encounter problem in the future. And even for example, if they encounter problem in the future, since we are not also like a financing institution, our goal is to really promote the adoption of technology, because that's the goal of the UST. However, we could not just encourage the MSMEs to adopt technology while we are not also providing the seed fund, because it's really a large investment on their part. Instead of investing on the equipment, they would rather refocus it to, for example, maybe working capital, human resources funding. So I think I like the term used by Timmy in one of our events, like it's de-risking the journey of the MSMEs and the startup. So we hope that with that kind of support, we can ensure that MSMEs are now upgrading their operations through technologies, through at least the seed fund that we can.
For in the context lang of possibilities, and I hope you would indulge us, what's the biggest grant, man, in terms of amount, no?
Yes.
That the DOST was able to to grant to a highly promising MSME.
We were able to grant an MSME here in Cebu at as much as 9 million. Yeah, but actually there's no cap as long as we do have the budget. And then we were able to
Establish.
we were able to pre-identify that particular firm or project in the previous year, so that it can be allocated in the next year. So the cap for the amount would be all be based on, number one, what is your funding requirement for your technology, what specific technology. Then second, for example, if that would be 5 million and below, it would be for only by approval by the regional office. So I think that would be a shorter, approval time or window. And then if that would be 5 million and up, then we are going to submit that as a big ticket proposal to the central office of the OST. So we can go as much as 10 million and above if that would really be required. And we do have allocation as well. For example, if that would be like a common service facility or an innovation center that would be required by a certain group of companies or MSMEs or industry, then we have what we call the industry level intervention, where that can be a grant to our partner for them to establish a center. Like for example, there was a clamor before by the Cebu furniture industry to localize the testing. So we have now the furniture testing center, and that is funded by the OST. And then next year we are going also to establish the metal testing facility, because we have Cebu-based steel companies that are requiring or requesting us to localize also the testing, because that would require more. So we can have like firm level interventions, but we have also industry level interventions.
And specific to this 9 million grant, how long did it take for this MSME to process this and eventually receive the grant? And I know that part of the complexity is also due diligence. No?
Yes.
So we don't just approve it and then the following
Yeah.
day, no? But how long did it take them to secure this one?
It depends, because there are also like we call it the stop clock, because we need to stop the clock in our clock. Although we always follow the
Sun. Just
we
kidding.
always follow the, how do we call that, the ease of doing business, where if that would be a simple transaction, that should be 3 days. So we have the 3, 7, 20, and the 7 is 7 days, and then 20. So the proposal for example, for the setup, it should be the expectation should be 20 days, but we can extend it to another 20 days because of some stop clock. What we mean by stop clock is like on the external and on the side of the applicant.
Got it.
For example, they are going to they are required to submit documents, so we cannot count that because it's
They're
on their
working on
part,
it.
and they're working on it. Okay, but so meaning most of our proposal, including all those how do we call that, including those downtime, I think it would be around 2 months for the local approval, but it can be shortened if the
Requirements
client
are
would
ready.
also be responsive, the requirements are.
Yes.
But of course, for the national, it would really take it would take 6 months to 1 year. I think they have experienced that with R&D funding, because we submitted it to central office, and there are exchanges of comments from the evaluators, and I think in the central office it has at least 3 layers of
Yes.
evaluators.
Yes.
But here in the region, we ensure that there will only be 1 layer of evaluation.
For Payruler, we really had to. It was nice to be able to visit the main compound of DOST in Bikutan. That was a good experience for us too. But Payruler and a few other Cebu startups, when the grant was more centralized, we had to go there, and there were very many, like you would have to present to a technical committee, you'd have to defend it. It's literally like a defense.
Defense.
But the perspective is also it's being responsible
Correct,
with
because there's a lot of money involved.
exactly, and it's taxpayers' money. So it's really just part of the process. Just go through the process. Honestly, it is okay. But it's nice to know that at regional, is it
Local.
Local.
It's 5 million na, because in the
Yes,
past,
it's
in the
3 million.
3 million for us. And they were like, okay, of course we would be encouraged, the people from DOSC, the people we would deal with, they're very helpful. But when you're making your program, they're like, maybe you can cap it at 3 manggod was the cap before, kay para it won't go beyond ba niya mo extend to
Longer
the whole
lead time.
Exactly. So there's a lot of coaching and support sad bitaw from the program managers that would be assigned to these grants. So But it's nice to know
But
5 million na.
we
Three
really
pa yata.
appreciate discussions like this because this is also opportunity to hear your feedback and your recommendations on how to improve the program, because every year that we have review of our programs. Actually, the setup program has been implemented since 2002, and there has been a lot of revisions in the policy and the procedures, and we hope to shorten it more. Actually, the anti-red tape authority, or the ARTA, has been requiring us to really identify what would be the improvement of each program. And we hope that with the Ease of Doing Business Act, all the government agencies, including us, would really ensure that there would be improvement on the process. So, with having said that, we hope that we could really shorten the process of setup. I think we go even to the lengths of assisting our applicants in the writing of the proposal. We will not just wait for their proposal to come, but we can help them, draft their proposal. And even, like, for example, for the evaluators, we're giving them like 14 days. Like, if they could not provide feedback after 14 days, it is good as recommended. So yeah.
Yeah, they're very hands-on, honestly. Very, very hands-on. Like through our process, through the setup loan. So actually, we applied for it back in 2021. And that was a little bit parang our proposal looked different at the time because
Yes.
honestly, AI wasn't really
Correct.
as prevalent as
It is
then,
now.
no? It wasn't. So it looked very different, and I think it was a blessing in disguise, honestly, RD, that we didn't get it then, but we got it now because
Yes.
I feel like just what the setup has enabled for us now is so much better than what it could have been back in 2021. But yeah, it was a process, the writing of the proposal, very hands-on, but buti, may na lang. May na lang na.
May na lang.
May na lang. May na lang we got it this year.
Now, which brings me to my next question. Okay, in our past conversation with Eddie, now that I'm because I shifted, no, I also shifted from being an employee to an employer, no, an entrepreneur. If I look back into my journey in the context of funding, now that I have also met several people in the different agencies, government agencies, but I realize now I should have done it this way in the context of funding. In your case, in Payruler, if you look back to your journey, is there something that you realized na in terms of funding, I could have done it this way?
For Payruler, I think honestly, I feel it would have been accelerated more
kana.
if all of the programs that are available to
Correct.
startups now are
Yes.
available. That would have been really good. But at the same time, it's like you do what you have to do. I think deliberately for Payruler, we didn't really focus so much on, how you hear in this news, like startups raising funding from VCs, venture capital, investors. We didn't really go that route, and I think and it's fine to take that money, no, that funding, the capital, that's okay. But we chose a different route, and we really parang steadily fueled our growth through things like grants and funding. But honestly, if there were more grants, I mean, for me, that's what I would that's what would have been nice,
Yeah.
siguro. But
You would take more risks.
it would have accelerated the growth faster. But in hindsight, I think I was also for Payruler, I was able to apply for international grants as well. And that's kind of how we ran the growth of Payruler. We didn't really want to focus too much on the fundraising, focus more on the revenue generating. Because at the end of the day, when you're raising investment or you're trying to get a fund, they want to look at your financials. So that's the path we chose. I would be, if these grants were available in the past, wow, I would apply for each one of them. Like,
Actually,
I would.
that's also what I thought.
Right?
No, Well,
Yeah.
now that I'm more aware of the grants that are
Yeah.
available in different agencies, and I said, why haven't I
Yeah.
thought of this, or why wasn't
Yeah.
I even aware of this?
I used to work for a Singapore-based accelerator. One of the first in the ASEAN region, one of the biggest also at the time. And one of the things that we were teaching our our startups, the founders at the time was like, if you can secure like these assistance programs, do that over getting funding where you have to give stake in your company, which means you kind of need to give up a little bit of control as well. Because so seek out what assistance you can get because there are avenues for
Yeah.
assistance. So that was why I pilit kay ko sa Diyo. But I mean, 'di ba? Like it's a way to do business also.
Correct. So for you, RD Tristan, we talk about what worked. Now let's talk about what did not work. So given the many applications that you receive, ballpark figure lang, what's the success rate?
Yeah, I believe the success rate of, for example, for the setup program, we have around 60 plus million for this year. And I believe that we were able to utilize it now. So we have, for example, for the success rate, yeah, I think I should not surmise it based on this year, right? Because the success rate should be
Pwede.
for the past year. So in the past, I believe, like for example, for before 2020, I think the success rate was really low because of actually the program
That's
was
my
also,
next question also.
Oh,
Continue,
actually
yeah.
the program was also sort of like how do we call that, a learning ground for the MSMEs to access financing and how they are going to manage the financing that they can they were able to get. And there are some really that really need as well as guidance on how they are going to purchase the equipment, because most of the maybe the challenges was like the procurement of the equipment was not really that suitable for their operations. Like there are equipment that could really like allow them to increase their production volume, but they were not working on their market. So like for example, there's an equipment, for example, that upgraded their production ha- 10 times, but they were able to achieve their monthly production volume by just like maybe 1 week. So that
Wow.
particular equipment, so that's really underutilized. So that's also one of the things that we need to look into when we're going to evaluate the proposal, because we are strengthening now the technology needs assessment part where we
Yeah.
evaluate if we are going to validate if this would really be the kind of equipment, like what would be your target increase in the production volume or capacity, because you are investing in this one. But I think
Yeah.
the good thing with Payruler right now is this is more on the utilization, for example, of AI and machine learning to upgrade their products, for example, their software. And we know that this would have a significant increase in their capacity. So but for the past 20 years, to answer your question, I think we are targeting like an 80% success rate. So, and we're able to achieve that. There are maybe like one or two that have problems in terms of their equipment, but we would always give them the chance to to improve, and they can, like for example, request for the restructuring of their financing,
Yeah.
so that you can give them a leeway where they can improve their operations whenever they were not able to benefit from the equipment.
So if I have a takeaway, and correct me if I'm wrong, even for startups, di ba, it's best that they collaborate with the OST, from ideation until it moves forward. I think even for MSMEs also, it's best that they engage with the OST long before they even apply for a grant. No?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that they can already be aided on what could work and what could be questioned. No?
Yeah,
So,
if
yeah.
I may respond quickly, the entry point actually for most of our MSMEs for the setup program is through our training and consultancy. We have this consultancy program. We call it the Manufacturing Productivity Extension, or MPEX. We sent out productivity consultants. And one of the recommendations for them is to upgrade, and they have to apply or set up. But most of those that are under MPEX, they have higher success rate, because they were properly guided by the
Correct.
consultants, and they have an overall picture of what they are going to do, which is technology upgrading is one component of that business strategy.
And now there's a lot of conversation about AI, and Payruler is also in this space already. And so both of you can comment if there are entrepreneurs who are watching, what possibilities or opportunities can they also explore that gets funded, no, by the OST.
Yeah, for that's why we have this collaboration right now with the ICT, DTI,
Okay.
and the OST. So I think this is also a way of maybe for them to be clarified about what should the proper agency that we are going to approach. So like for the ICT, they're more on promoting, of course, ICT technologies plus tech startups. But for DOST, if you're into, for example, product validation and you need to scale up with the use of technology, so they can really approach the OST. And we have now the Innovation Hub where we can provide them ideation, assistance, as well as the Technology Business Incubator for incubation. And then for the scale up, the validation, R&D programs we have, and then, of course, the technology adoption. And if they are into, for example, they need to be mentored as well into marketing, into acceleration. That would be also be the role of DTI. Okay, so we hope that if they have this technology-based, I mean, maybe the MSMEs would be like a simple, how do we call that? Products they're processing. But if that would require technologies, then they can approach the OST.
So now I'm down to my last few kanang questions na lang. So I'm going back to kanang to Timmy. So if there's somebody who has an idea and is watching us right now, and then he or she is saying, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough funding, I don't know where to start. What would you tell that person?
Well, I think, and this
But the
is
person, assuming that the person has a good idea.
well, if it's a good idea, then in startup speak, the way we say that you need to do problem solution validation. So this is what we used to teach at our pre-accelerator program when I was in the Singaporean accelerator. But it's also, I'm sure, what the programs of DOST are teaching. You have to there's a certain framework that you can follow wherein you can validate whether there really is a problem that your solution is meeting, and or validating what really is the problem. And honestly, this happens through many conversations. And when you're in tech, you're a tech person, you're an engineer, usually you're a bit daunted by that. No, I don't want to talk to people. I already know what the market needs. But if you're starting out with an idea, honestly, you have to have these conversations. Back in the day, we would recommend, you have to have done at least 30 of these interviews.
See my reaction.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
thank you for bringing that up. Yes.
And these aren't surveys, how you don't go out and create a Google form and send a survey. No, they have to be actual conversations. So I did a corporate innovation project back in the day for an automotive company. And we literally were sent to the kanang mga talyer ba, kanang mga workshop they were trying to validate a certain problem. They already had a solution. But when we talk to katong mga talyers, kay lahi bitaw ilahang problema di ay. So completely na change ang solution because of the data we got on the ground. So if you have an idea, ay sag worry bitaw kay. I mean, yes, you will need funding and all, but please focus first on the problem solution fit and checking that. Kay that's really it's a foundational thing ba?
Yeah.
You need to start out.
And by the way, before I'll ask RD Tristan, it also, regardless of whether it's tech or not, it also validates what I am also thinking. A lot of kanang people, especially for those who are working already and then wants to transition and become entrepreneurs, the common question which parang maguul ko when they ask that is, dapit ang kwarta, no? But and now, as I grow older, I realize that's a wrong question to ask.
Yes.
No? It's actually, what is the problem that people are having and how can my business add value? Diba? Kaya otherwise, if there's no problem, nobody will buy the
Yeah.
service.
Right.
Yeah.
Ay, sorry. Okay. Sige.
Real talk, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yes.
It's real talk.
Yeah, because who will pay for it?
Yes,
diba?
exactly. And then how do you get it running? So for with Payruler,
Only
thankfully,
one in a million was that problem, diba? So,
like try mo bayad, and
correct.
then
Oh,
yeah, exactly. So moto with Payruler, the problem solution fit was
Correct.
clear. So with any idea, check your problem solution fit sa, and then you go to your solution market fit. But kind of have those conversations. They're very important. Right?
yeah, and I'm glad that you brought that up in a very concrete way, no? Sige, and now for RD Tristan, after this process, I know we talked about this in the earlier conversation, but this is like a summary. What are the support man said, no, that they can get from there, whether it's DOST or whether DTI or whether the ICT?
Yeah, like for example, the one mentioned by Timmy, I agree with that. You always start with problem solution fit, and actually that is the goal of the innovation hub. We can provide you with the platform or with the network, with the ICT and the DTI to really check, validate your problem. So we have the mentorship. We have also some events like the mixers, the networking, where we can expose you to some startups, some mentors, where you get to inspire. So that's I really agree that don't focus on the funding yet, yeah, because you need to firm up your idea. You need to develop your MVPs, minimum viable product. You need to work on your business model. Okay, so you need to have a BMC, a business model canvas. So you start with all of these basics, and I think funding will just come to you if you have a good idea, if you have a good fit of your solution to the problem, and you can work. You can approach now the UST. I think the most important thing as well is to be proactive in getting information. As much
Yeah.
as the UST, DTI, and other government agencies are promoting our programs and services, but we have realized that I think not a lot of people are really aware of these programs and services of the government. So there's a need for you if you're really a startup, because if you're innovative, you need to look for the information. You need to be proactive, search for those information, and we're doing our best here in the region where we really connect all the programs so that it would be easier for the stakeholders to digest and to maximize as well the impact, not to work in silos where each agency has a similar programs, parallel programs, but we are connecting right now so that we can have more impact of this program. So get to know, and then we can also provide, if you're a startup, if you're MSME, you can attend also some of the trainings that we are offering. You can avail of the consultancy services that we can provide, so that you would be guided on how are you going to grow your company. And right then, if you have the good idea, if you have now the initial traction, then it would be, if you need scale up, then you can approach the UST again for the equipment upgrading, other forms of services that we can provide. And these programs are constantly evolving, so we hope that you can also participate in the giving of feedback for the improvement of these programs.
So thank you, RD Tristan. Thank you, Timmy. No, I'm learning so much in this conversation, but among the most powerful, like actually, are your closing statements. No, okay. Kwan if we have viewers and then you wish to become an entrepreneur, don't worry so much first about dapit ka kwarta. Okay, sadly, that's a common question. And I think the second most frequently asked question is, where can I get funding? No, I think for what you emphasize, work on the problem solution fit, and then the rest will just follow. Work on that first.
Yeah. It's not going to be easy, but if you have that foundation, then it'll be easier for you to like really grow your business, be it a brick and mortar or be it a startup. The foundation of the problem solution fit. And I really like what RD Tristan said. Like he was saying, you need to be informed about the programs. Honestly, in modern day speak, you gotta hustle, and one part of the hustle is not just hustle as in sell. It's hustle and know, like, what is available to me, how can I make my money go further, how can I grow with assistance, and hustle by knowing what the programs are. Like, I would really encourage. And thankfully, one of our co-founders, our CEO, he was really like, he really wants to know unsa man gyud ang not that one, not that one, but pero he was so like diligent bitaw in finding out, okay, what can DOST do for our business, how can it help. I think that's a really important advice. I would second that. Like, be in the know.
And then, ako po second po kasi talk to at least 30 people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't assume.
No, don't.
And then if I may add, DJ, quickly, so regarding the problem solution fit, it's very important. I think I would like to share it again, that you need, for that to have your problem solution fit, you need to fall in love with the problem and not your solution. Yes, because if you are so in love with your solution, it's difficult for you to repackage, to adjust. Because you need to focus on the problem. And I think if you're also to get funding, it's not difficult for you to repackage your proposal or your pitch to DOST, to DTI, because you can easily align your product idea, your pitch, to what they are looking for, because you know so well the solution and the problem.
One good last na lang. Kay nakuha na akong hurricane. Do not ask kanang where I get funding first. Do not ask ako makakwarta. So, solid sa ang problem.
Yes.
And then, solid di mo ang solution. And then, when both of them already a good fit, then the rest will follow.
Yes.
Okay. So the story of Payruler reminds us that success does not happen overnight. And the opportunities from the OST remind us that entrepreneurs don't necessarily have to build alone. For those watching this afternoon with an idea of your own, perhaps the first step is simply to find out no, not yet. I'll change my script. The first step is to simply understand what problem are you solving, find the solution, talk to as many experts and people possible, and when you have a good problem solution fit, the rest will just follow. I revised the closing script. I'm DJ Moises. And shout out to Coffee First for supporting conversations that matter. This is Beyond the Headlines. Let's look deeper and think better. Have a good afternoon.
It starts with a fresh shot of espresso. Bold, rich, pulled just right. Then comes the milk, steamed smooth, creamy, and balanced. The perfect latte is not rushed. It is crafted, one cup at a time. Your perfect latte is ready. Coffee first, then everything else.